None.
Hello and welcome to High Five. Today we're going to talk about 5 cursed lottery winners. Many people dream about winning the lottery. They believe that the money will solve all of their problems. Unfortunately, the windfall can bring more problems than it solves. Most people do not know how to deal with their newfound wealth, and many of the winners go bankrupt or end up dead. Number 5. Abraham Shakespeare. Abraham Shakespeare won $30 million in the lottery, and he took a lump sum amount of $17 million. He was insistent that the money would not change him. Shakespeare had always been a kind-hearted man who helped those in need, and he intended to stay that way. Unfortunately, Shakespeare's kindness became common knowledge. People would walk up to him on the street and bombard him with their hard luck stories. He couldn't resist helping them. Shakespeare was equally generous with his friends, and his kindness was rapidly depleting his bank account. He met a woman, Doris Moore, who offered to help him manage his money. Moore opened an account with Shakespeare's money. She spent $1 million on expensive cars and lavish vacations. It wasn't enough. Moore wanted all of his money. She shot Shakespeare twice in the chest, and she buried his body in a field. She told his friends and family that he had left town, wanting to escape the people who kept asking for money. Moore pretended that Shakespeare was alive for months. She even sent his son gifts. She sent messages from his cell phone. She staged sightings where he would be, and she even hired someone to pose as Shakespeare to call his mother. His family was not fooled by Moore. They reported him missing. Police soon found his body and they immediately suspected Moore. She was arrested, found guilty, and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Number 4. Arooj Khan. Mr. Khan was delighted with his $1 million win. He planned to put the money back into his business, and he wanted to make a donation to a children's hospital. Khan attended a press conference where he received an oversized check. Then he went home and had a traditional Indian dinner with his daughter, his wife, and his father-in-law. Khan was not feeling well after the meal, and he went to bed early. He woke up in agony, and he collapsed when he tried to stand. His wife dialed 911, and Khan was rushed to the hospital. He died the next day. The medical examiner determined that Khan had died of natural causes. His death was attributed to a type of cardiovascular disease. No autopsy was performed. Khan's brother was suspicious of the sudden death. He asked the medical examiner to reinvestigate his brother's body. This time, they found a lethal amount of cyanide in Khan's blood. Police have searched for the murderer, but they have yet been unsuccessful so far. The case remains open. Number 3. Andrew Whitaker Jr. Andrew Whitaker won $314.9 million. After taxes and a lump sum deduction, he received $113.4 million. He considered himself blessed. Whitaker immediately began donating money to charity. He gave millions to his church, and he created his own charity to help people find jobs, buy food, or get an education. People soon started to ask for money. People sent him so many letters that his charity had to hire 3 people to open them all. They spent more than 8 hours a day just opening the letters. Some people were not willing to wait for a donation. Several visitors showed up at his house every day to complain about their financial problems. A few of them became angry when he rejected them, and they threatened his family. People started to sue Whitaker. He spent over $3 million fending off hundreds of lawsuits, nearly all of which were bogus. Whitaker became stressed with the newfound attention. He started treating himself to frequent visits to strip clubs, and he started participating in high-stakes gambling. While he was at a strip club, he opened a briefcase that contained $545,000. Someone drugged him and stole the briefcase. The money was recovered, although the incident publicized his bad habits. Although he was publicly disgraced, Whitaker was still adored by his family. He was especially close to his sole grandchild, Brandy. He had helped raise Brandy. Her father was dead, and her mother, Whitaker's daughter, had cancer. He gave 15-year-old Brandy whatever she wanted, and Whitaker would randomly give her thousands of dollars. The cash attracted drug dealers, and she soon became addicted. He sent her to rehab, but it was unsuccessful. 2 years later, Brandy went missing. Her body was discovered wrapped in a plastic tarp. The cause of death was listed as unknown, although there were illegal drugs in her system. Brandy's death put a strain on Whitaker's family. He and his wife divorced. They had been married for 42 years. The next year, his daughter, his only child, died. Whitaker now wishes that he had torn the lottery ticket up. Number 2. Maria Lou DeVrel. David and Maria were thrilled when they won $5 million. They hired their friend of 20 years, finance manager Peter Kelly, to help manage their money. The DeVrels gave him power of attorney. He was given control over the couple's spending, bank accounts, and bills. Peter was also allowed to take money from their accounts to pay himself for the financial assistance. Peter did not approve of Maria's spending habits. He stopped by the DeVrels' home to talk to her about her finances. The conversation quickly turned into an argument, and Peter and Maria started to shove each other. Peter angrily left the house and went into his car. He returned with a rubber mallet that he had wrapped in plastic. Peter hit Maria over the head multiple times, and then he smothered her. He staged a robbery and then left. Maria's body was found later that day, and Peter was arrested 2 weeks later. He said that their argument began when he confronted her about spending the winnings too quickly. However, the court showed that Peter had caused the DeVrels' money troubles. Peter had invested the couple's money poorly, and he had lost nearly $1 million. Maria had questioned Peter's financial advice, and Peter did not want to lose control over DeVrels' money. Peter was sentenced to 13 to 18 years in jail. And number 1, Basil Thorne. In 1960, Basil Thorne won $125,000 in the lottery. He and his family were featured on the front pages of newspapers. The articles included the family's photos, names, address, and the prize amount. The publicity drew the attention of Stephen Bradley, who wanted some of their winnings. Bradley decided to kidnap the Thornes' 8-year-old son Graham and hold him for ransom. Bradley watched the family and he perfected his plan. Graham waited on the corner of the street for a family friend, Phyllis Smith, to pick him up for school. Unfortunately, Bradley got to the boy first. Bradley lured Graham into his car, drove to a deserted street, and drugged him. The boy lost consciousness. Meanwhile, Phyllis was surprised that Graham wasn't waiting for her. She went to talk to his mother and became concerned. The mother called the police and an officer stopped by the Thorne home. A few minutes later, the phone rang. Bradley said that he had Graham and he wanted $31,000 to return him. Bradley called again 12 hours later. He told them that the money should be put into 2 paper bags, but he hung up before leaving any further instructions. Bradley was panicking because he had accidentally overdrugged Graham. The boy had died. Several days passed and there was no connection between the Thornes and Bradley. The police eventually discovered Graham's body in a deserted field. They were able to match the cypress tree twigs and pink mortar found on Graham's body to Bradley's home. Bradley was arrested and sentenced to life in prison. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.